Hey, do you want to build a stronger family, create a better life? Well, that's what Divorce with Heart is all about. It's a show where I guide you along your divorce and co-parenting journey using the heart's wisdom, intuition, and legal expertise. So sit back, take a deep breath, relax. My name is Gina DiPrima. Let's get started. Hello. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Today is episode 30, and I don't even know exactly what this episode's going to be called. You know, we're kind of talking about that question that I think some people feel when they're suddenly faced with the divorce of like, how do I tell people? What do I tell my mom? What do I tell my dad? You know, am I like the divorce leper now? I think there's a feeling that goes along with that, like feeling like you're the divorce leper. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'll call it. But, you know, that's what we're going to be talking about here today. This whole idea of, oh, great. Oh, crap. Oh, you know, whatever it is. So now I'm getting a divorce. Now what? What do I do now? Well, one thing I want to say is, you know, it's not the time to cocoon, right? It's not the time to just get all quiet and, you know, retreat within yourself. And it's not, you may want to do that. And I think that's a natural instinct for some people, but it's not a good time for that because this really is a time in your life when you would do best to be supported by people that really truly love you and by people that really truly have your best interests in mind and at heart, right? So the question then becomes, well, then how do I get those people? How do I tell them? And how can I make sure that they're going to, you know, align to my plan or my idea of how I want to go through this process in my life? Because, you know, let's face it, divorce has this kind of like nasty stigma to it still, right? This nasty connotation. Everybody thinks right away their first instinct is, I'm going to be screwed, or how am I not going to be screwed? Like that kind of thing. It's like this, all of a sudden, this bracing, like holding on for dear life. Now what? That's usually the first initial reaction. I mean, even if you're the one who, quote unquote, wants to be the one to pull the plug and say, that's it, I've had enough. You know, you may have had more time to get yourself to that point of feeling like you're okay and you've had enough. But initially, I'd be willing to bet that you felt the same thing. The same thing where you're like kind of bracing and thinking, you know, now what? And it's that kind of thing. And so no matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you wanted this divorce or you didn't want this divorce, it's a difficult process. Right? And so that's why I say it's really not the time to cocoon. You definitely want to reach out to people, talk to people that are going to be there to help you and support you. And they can be people that you don't necessarily know on a friend basis. They can be people that aren't necessarily, you know, your family members and your close friends. And sometimes you can get the best advice from people that are at an arm's length distance or even strangers. I mean, that's one of the beauties of Facebook, right? There's so many good groups out there now for divorce support. And as you know, you're listening to this show, you're welcome to join if you haven't joined already, but that's the Divorce with Heart group. You know, that's where I really like to try to keep the conversation going about all the things that we're talking about on this show. And it's where I like to see other members helping each other try to navigate their situations from more of this like heart-based kind of concept that I'm always promoting. So reach out to people, get active. If it's on Facebook, I mean, I guess I should leave you a little caveat there. Be careful what you do on social media when you're going through a divorce. You know, be very careful. You know, definitely change your passwords, things like that, because you never know who's watching. You never know who's reporting. You never know exactly what's going on. So that's an episode for another day. But maybe you want to change your password or have a different profile just for the purpose of you getting the support that you need. Okay? But it's okay to seek out the help of a coach. It's okay to seek out the help of a counselor. And most certainly at some point, you're going to have to tell your family, right? And for some people, that's the hardest part. It's the hardest part. How do I tell my mom? How do I tell my dad? What do I do? How do I say it? How do I tell my friends? And it's the hardest part because there's all this mixed bag of emotions, right? That goes along with it. You might be thinking, are they going to judge me? How are they going to see me? What are they going to say? Are they going to think it's my fault? Are they going to think it's her fault? What's going to happen with the kids? Oh my God, this is going to just break my mom's heart. My mom always just wanted to see me happy, and when she met my wife, she loved her so much. And now what? I get it. There's all these different thoughts and feelings and emotions that are going to creep up. And, again, they can stop you dead in your tracks, and they can instantly push you down that road of thinking worst case scenario. And, the one thing I'm going to say is think about who you're going to talk to, right? Think about who you're going to tell, and pick the easiest person first, because that's just going to help you. It's like practice. It's like dress rehearsal, right? So pick the easiest person first and then go from there. And when I say easiest, maybe it's the person that you have the least amount of concerns about, right? But just so you can at least get it out there, say it out loud to someone in your family, somebody other than obviously your lawyer, because you need to just break the ice and move forward. So pick that person. Okay, to do it, to disclose the whole, you might feel like it's this dirty secret or underlying problem. Pick that person to talk to first, okay? And know this, that there is no real right or wrong way of doing it, okay? Everybody's situation is going to be completely different because we are all very different. None of us are exactly the same, even though some of us might be very similar. So don't compare yourself to somebody else. Don't compare your story to somebody else, okay? Expect that you're going to have your own story and expect that it's going to be okay and what you need. And pick your own timing, okay? There's no pressure here. You don't have to do it at any certain time. Pick the timing that is going to really work best for you. It might be before the divorce started. It might be in the middle. It might be later. You're going to know, and just trust yourself to know what the timing is, okay? Now, before you have the conversation, let's talk about a few things, because this is what I think is really the crux of it, okay? Before you have the conversation, before you go and decide to tell your father or your mother or somebody you really care about, take some time with yourself to get clear on your own needs. And what I mean is get clear on what you need from them. Get clear on what you telling them, why you're doing it. I was going to say, what does it do for you? That sounds a little selfish. I don't necessarily mean it like that because, of course, we're talking about families. So we can't expect that what's happening in, your family, your own individual family, isn't going to have an effect on your parents, because of course it will on some level, right? We're all we're interconnected like that. Of course, there's an impact. There's always an impact. But just like there's an impact, it's to a lesser degree. So the focus really should be on you and what you need. And what do you need from them? What do you need from the person that you are talking to, that you're going to rely on? Is it support? I would think so, because, why else would you be telling them if it wasn't because you needed them to support you, right? You're doing it, at least in my opinion, you should be doing it at a time where you're doing it more for yourself than for them, if that makes sense. All right. So get clear on the reasons why you're doing it, why you want to tell this person first. Do you want their opinion? Know that before you even have the conversation. Do you want their opinion? Do you want to hear from them? Or do you want them to just be a silent ear? What kind of support is it that you're looking for? Some people, well, let me back up a minute. The reason why I'm saying this, especially to get clear on what you need first, is because for the vast majority of people out there, their initial reaction, whether it's immediate and it's the first reaction or the second or third, but it's somewhere up there and is part of their initial reaction at some point, is going to be to jump on that bandwagon of kind of like bashing your soon-to-be ex, right? Well, I never liked her anyways. Well, he was no good for you anyways. He's a bum, and you know what? You deserve better, right? Like that kind of stuff, and people do that not to be hurtful. They're doing that, I believe anyways, that it comes from a place of love, right? It comes from a place of them wanting to support you and help you and care for you, because in some way they're feeling like if they say that kind of stuff, if they jump on this bandwagon of hate, really, that somehow it's going to help you and it's going to help you feel better. But the reality is that it doesn't. It really, truly doesn't. And if you're shaking your head right now, disagreeing with me, thinking, well, yes, it does, I'm going to challenge you and say, does it really? Because I think if you feel like it does, it probably only does in a short little window of time. It's short-lived. Long-term, what's better for you, better for your family, better for your kids is to have more positive support. That level of support where it's coming from this negative, angry place, you might feel okay, you might feel good, you might get something out of it, but again, it's a short-lived, it's short-lived. It's not going to take you to the next level where you're going to be able to live peacefully, because all you're doing is just generating, more negativity, more hostility, which is going to affect every part of you. And it's going to affect the way you act, you behave, the choices you make, all of it, right? So it's best just to get that out of there. Even if it's serving you in that short-lived moment and you're thinking, yeah, but I like doing that. I like to get with my girlfriends and bash, Again, it's not a good long-term plan, right? And I'm talking long-term here. So get clear on what it is you want, okay? If you want peace, if you want to, still have some level of respect, still have some level of dignity, if not even for the soon-to-be ex, the person, what about just respect and dignity for what you had together and the relationship you had together and, the challenges you faced together and the outcomes and the children that you produced together, For every relationship, even the worst relationship in the world, there's a positive aspect, a positive memory. There's something good there, or the relationship would not have been there to begin with. I firmly believe that. So maybe it's just that you want to respect that. You want to respect yourself for the chance that you took on yourself, for the decisions you made, for the life that you lived up until that point. The point is that I'm trying to make is that when you have this conversation, when you have the conversation with your mother, when you have the conversation with your father, you need to get clear on these things before you do, so that you can give them some instruction, so that you can give them some guidance, so you can say things to them right away, along the lines of, I know this is going to be really hard. I know this is going to be a shock to you, but please know that I'm okay. I'm going to, deal with this. I'm going to survive. I'm okay. But this is what's going on. We're breaking up. We're getting a divorce. And I really just need your love and support right now. That's really all I need. I just need you to be patient with me. I just need you to listen to me, give me a hug, please just, I don't want to hear the opinions. I don't want to hear the judgment, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just that this is going to take me some time to really get through this and process this. And I just don't want to, poo-poo on everything that we've had, so to speak. I don't want to drench everything that we've had and what my whole life has been or what my marriage has been up until this point. I don't want to dump black paint all over it. I want to try to get through this in a way that's peaceful, respectful, dignified, because, I'm doing it different. I'm doing it different because we have kids together, and I want my kids to know that they always will have a loving mother and that they always will have a loving father, that no matter what, our relationship, our marriage might be ending, but that our family is forever. And that includes you, Mom, and that includes you, Dad, because you're still Grandma and Grandpa. Get it? So that's what I mean. When you tell people, they need that kind of level of instruction from you, because without it, it's most likely going to be, that first instinct reaction to jump on that negative train, right? And again, I don't think that that's really going to be helpful. It's not going to be helpful to you long term, okay? So don't be afraid to let people know what your expectations are and how you need them to support you and how you want them to support you. But just get real clear on it first. Get real clear on it first before you have the conversation, especially if you are approaching your divorce in a more heart-based way. I mean, that's what the show's all about. Divorce with heart. That's what it is. I'm talking about changing the paradigm of divorce. I'm talking exactly about recognizing that divorce, yes, it ends the marriage, not the family, right? And that you can move forward and actually create something positive. Maybe even better for yourself, better for your spouse, better for your children than what you even had before. All of that's possible. I've seen it done. We just need to get more people thinking this way, right? So when it gets down to telling your mother and your father, you need to be the teacher, especially if this is the kind of divorce that you want to experience, especially if that's the case. Because if not, like I said, these are kind of new concepts. People don't automatically think this way. So there needs to be that little educational guidance kind of piece. You know what? And of course, they're probably still going to revert from time to time and say things. People do. We're humans. It's human nature. And that's okay. Soft reminders are good. But just always keep the focus on where it needs to be. And that's on you and your well-being and what you want out of this experience, because that's what it is. It's a life experience. It's a life-changing experience that you will remember and that will impact every part of your life from this moment until the day you die. There you go again, talking death. So, just keep that in mind when you're telling people. And here's another question I get a lot. It has to do with, what do I have to tell them? And usually people mean like, do I really have to tell them the details? Do I really have to tell them that, he cheated on me, or, I cheated on him, or like, do I really have to get into exactly what happened and how I found him in bed with so-and-so? No. In my opinion, no, of course not. Because again, who is that serving, right? That's the question. Who are the details serving? Why would they being like your mother or your father or, your brother or your sister, why do they, quote unquote, why do they need to know? They don't need to know. They may want to know because, curiosity, right? And why not? But they don't need to know. So I don't think you need to answer those questions. I don't think you need to disclose that information. Now, if you want to, because it helps you and in some way it's serving you, then by all means, go ahead, right? But it's always keeping in mind first, like, what is the purpose of this? And, it doesn't mean that if you disclose a little, it means you have to go the whole way either, right? So play it by ear, have the conversation at a time when you know that you can devote the amount of time necessary to it that you want. Make sure you're having it at a time that you know that you can at least, I think, present yourself as calmly, and I kind of want to say like confidently, as calmly and confidently as you can, as solid as you can, even though you might be feeling broken. And it's okay to show that you're hurting and to show that you're broken, because again, you want the help, you want the support. And you're going to say that in this conversation. You just want to balance it maybe with, I want your love and I want, hugs. I want your love and support, but I don't necessarily want your judgments and your opinions, right? And that can be hard to say. So you want to do it as softly as you can, I think. And, maybe you also want to include in your conversation your feelings on whether or not you want the information repeated, who the person may or may not have permission to repeat it to. Because if these things aren't said, then, people go on, they live their lives, things happen, and you might regret it. So, go ahead. I think it's important to tell your family. I think whether or not you tell your friends and which friends you tell, that's a question for you. But again, if you take anything away from this episode, it should be that you got to get real clear with yourself first before you enter into the conversation, knowing exactly what it is you need, knowing exactly how you would need or want that person to help you and support you, so that then you can also be strong enough to include that as sort of an instruction or a request for how they can best help you and support you, like guidance, because otherwise they won't know. They won't know. And another thing is expect the hurt, all right? Because it is shocking for others, and it can be heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching for others. So they may cry, they may be upset, they may be hurt, and that's okay too. Let it roll. It's all right. This is an emotional process for everybody. And stuffing those emotions inside, again, it doesn't get anyone anywhere. Not in the long run anyways, right? And we all want to move forward as positively as we can. We all want to move forward as healthily as we can. That's a word, healthily. We just want to survive. We want to be happy again. Everybody does, and everybody usually wants to do what's best for the kids and for the family. So I hope that this all makes sense. If you're struggling with this yourself, you're not quite sure what to say, maybe you've got some ideas, you just want to run it past someone, go ahead and post it in the group. Post it in the Divorce with Heart group. Send me a message. Send me an email if you have a question. I'm always looking to answer your questions here on the podcast. So feel free to do that. The email is divorcewheart@dprimalaw.com, or of course, message me on Facebook, put it in the Facebook group. Let's connect. Let's do this, because again, it's not just about you and your family. It's about a movement also, because the more people that we can educate and get thinking along these lines, then the easier it's going to even be for you, right? Because we all affect each other. So I thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And, in this week ahead, just trust yourself. Trust yourself in the process. Surround yourself with love. Know that it's going to be okay. Okay? And when you talk to the people that you love and you're asking them for support, ask them to respect your wishes. You show them and express to them how they can best do that and how they can best honor you. Okay? Because, your life's going to continue. Tomorrow is going to come. Your life's going to continue. It's going to continue for your children, and it's going to continue for your family. So the choice is yours, right? Let's make it good. Let's make it a good life. And we do that today. We do it in how we act today, and by what we think today and how we feel today. So, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for joining me today. Come back next week and be sure to visit my website at dprimalaw.com to book a call, or let's connect on Facebook at dprimalaw, where you can join my group for more support. Please remember that the information shared is for general and entertainment purposes only, and that by calling in or messaging me, we are not creating an attorney-client relationship, and my advice is not intended to be legal advice. For specific legal advice, please contact a lawyer in your jurisdiction.
show is brought to you by inflowradio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.